Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. We'll be starting in just 1 minute while people are signing in. Thanks. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. We're excited you've decided to join us for creating a new approach for your next annual appeal campaign. Before we get started, a couple housekeeping details. This webinar session is being recorded, and you should receive a copy of the recording with the slides tomorrow by email. Please feel free to share this webinar with colleagues that could not attend today. A question and answer session will immediately follow our presentation. If you have questions for our speakers, please type them into the questions box in the panel of your GoToWebinar on the right side of your screen. This webinar is sponsored by Suttle-Straus. If you don't know us, we do print, mail, kitting, fulfillment, promotional products, anything printed you need from design to delivery. And our speakers today are Teresa Ade and Karen Wenning. So guys, I'll hand it off to you and you can take it away.
All right, thanks Megan. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Teresa Ade with Suttle-Straus. I work with several different nonprofits, and Karen Wenning is joining me today as well. And we're going to go through today several different campaigns that we've worked on this last year. And what we're going to do specifically is talk about those campaigns and how they did things differently from the previous years. And we'll talk specifically within each campaign about the different printing techniques that they used, how they incorporated personalization, different collection strategies, and also digital marketing. So we have 3 different annual appeals that we'll go through, and we'll take them one at a time. And the first one that we'd like to talk through is the ARCHDIOCESE of NEWARK and their 2021 annual appeal. So when you kind of take a look at the material itself that they didn't really change a lot of the material specifically that they had done in previous years. The campaign material itself, they did the 8.5 by 14 letter with the perf off pledge card. They did English brochures and Spanish brochures. The direct mail campaign mailed out in a 6 by 9.5 envelope. They had in-pew envelopes, material that shipped to the parishes. They also had posters. Something new that they started the previous year that they continued in 2021 was magnets. So any new donors that received an acknowledgement letter, they also received a magnet in their mail package. They wanted to acknowledge those new donors in some way. So one of the really unique things that they decided to do, not in the print material from the previous year, but they decided to incorporate digital marketing that ran parallel to their direct mail campaign. So that was really what they did that was unique to their appeal this year.
This is Karen, and I'm going to take us through what their omni-channel marketing approach looked like. So as Teresa said, the pieces themselves looked very similar to previous years. However, we incorporated connected mail, which is a way to incorporate social media, mail tracking, informed delivery, call tracking, online follow-up with Google ads and social media ads, and then lead match. And what the goal of this is to increase the exposure. We know that it takes 8 to 16 touches for people to make a decision about making a donation. What the goal of our campaign is to increase the number of touches between 8 to 12 touches and see if we can increase the amount of response and the amount of donations. So we're going to take you through what that looks like. So starting at the top, there's a number of different things that we're doing. First, we have the mailing list, and the very first thing that we're going to do is go out and look for people on the mailing list, look for their Facebook and Instagram accounts, so that once we drop that direct mail piece in the mail, for the first 14 days of that campaign, we're going up and serving up ads before those direct mail pieces have even arrived in the home. So they have the opportunity to click on those, go to the website. So basically, we're getting them ready to receive the direct mail piece. So they're getting touches before that piece ever arrives in their mailbox. The next thing we're doing is tracking that mail. So we're going to know exactly when that mail is arriving in the homes, down to the individual addresses. Now, while that's happening, anybody that has signed up for informed delivery, which is performed by the United States Post Office, you can sign up and you receive an email that shows you the direct mail piece that is going to arrive in your homes in the next couple of days. Now with this, with the connected mail or omni-channel marketing, you get a ride-along digital ad, which is in color, that they can also click through. So realize that you may not have the email address to everyone on your mailing list, but if they signed up for informed delivery, you're getting into their mailbox. So while that is going on, we have the informed delivery, the pieces start to arrive in homes, and then we also have call tracking. So on the direct mail pieces themselves, there's a call tracking number, and any calls that are made are recorded, and you can access those on a dashboard and listen to what the callers were calling about. You can use this for training, to help answer phones better, all of those sorts of things. Now, as this is going on, we also have online follow-up. So starting on day 15, really, is when online follow-up is happening. And what we're doing is we're searching keywords like that have to do with the appeal, as well as geo-mapping based on the individual zip codes. So people are searching things and they're finding then a Google ad that matches what they're looking for, which gives them the ability to click and go to your website. So many of these are going to be organic leads. Anybody that hits your website is also getting served up social media and social media ads via follow-up. So that would be Instagram and Facebook ads if they've actually landed on your website. So now I'm going to take you through what this actually looks like. So here we have the direct mail drops in the mail, and you'll notice Teresa here, that's Teresa. She is holding up her phone because she was matched with her Facebook account, and she is getting served up that ad on Facebook before the direct mail piece ever arrives in the home. So you'll notice that you want these pieces to have the same look and feel of the direct mail piece, right? Because we want to have that repeat message, that repeat look that makes them know that they're getting touched those multiple times so that they make the connection to make the donation. So in this case, they ran the first ad for the first 30 days of the campaign. And then the second 30 days, they did an additional ad, but again, it has that same look and feel, a slightly different layout, and a different image. And now we're going to take you through the dashboard. I'm sorry, this is showing us what I was talking about with that informed delivery. So informed delivery, every piece of mail that's letter size mail gets, and a person that's signed up for informed delivery will get this email that will show the back side, the address side of the mailing piece in black and white. So regardless of whether you do an omni-channel approach or not, you're still going to have this for those people that are signed up for informed delivery. But what you get here is you get that ride-along ad that is a color ad that's clickable that will take them right to the donation page. Why is this important? This is important because 40.2 million people have signed up for this service with the United States Post Office. And when we get into the dashboard, I'm going to show you what the open rate is on this particular campaign. They're still adding 1 million people a month that are signing up for this service.
Yeah, I recently read that they have about a 25% household penetration rate. So about 1 in every 4 people you mail is going to have this service.
What we're looking at here is we're looking at the dashboard, and I'm going to go through these high-level KPIs, key performance indicators, and explain what they mean. Remember, the goal is to increase the exposure. If we're sending a direct mail piece and we're not doing an omnichannel approach, we're getting one touch. We're getting one touch when it arrives in the home. So the first KPI that we're going to look at is the top left, where it says the total ads displayed. 1,083,254. You can imagine how much your postage would be if you sent out 1 million direct mail pieces, right? What this is doing is combining all the unique engagements. So it's clicks from Instagram, Facebook, the online social media, the social match, any calls, and it's taking all of those things into consideration, right? So if we take that 1.83 million and we divide it out by the number of pieces that we mailed, which was 102,638, we get approximately 10.5 touches per person. So just sit with that for a minute. So that's how many eyeballs got to see this. They're getting about 10.5 touches. The goal was between 8 and 12. Now let's look at unique engagements. So out of the 102,000 unique engagements, if we take that and divide the 4,030, we're getting about a 3.9% engagement rate. So these are people that have clicked through from Instagram, Facebook, online social media, the social match, and the calls. Now let's look at visitors. You're going to notice that this is a big fat 0, and the reason for that is because it is a religious-based, privacy-restricted campaign. We cannot track people, individuals, right? So we can't do it for anything that's health-related, religious-related, and the reason for that is that if I'm at work and I'm searching Catholic diocese, and then my boss were to come and sit down at my desk and see that I was searching that, that would be a violation of my privacy. But what you can do here is you can check your Google Analytics and you can see if there's an uptick in your website traffic during this time. And there certainly will be. The next thing that we're going to look at is the total leads. The total leads are the new opportunities, okay? These are organic leads that came from Google Ads. They came to the website, they were on the list, and these are people that you want to continue to nurture because they are obviously interested, but may or may not have taken an action at this point. Now, your total matches, the 874, are the people that match your actual mailing list. So out of the 102,538, these are matches that came to the website and were on your mailing list. Now we're going to look at some of the other performance indicators. So first we'll look at the social match. So we identified 29,236 unique accounts with social match. So out of those 102,000, we were able to find unique accounts for Instagram and Facebook for 29,236 people, okay? And we were able to serve up to those accounts 36,621 ads. Of those ads that were served up, 105 people clicked through those ads. So they clicked through, they went to the website, they went to the donation page. The next thing that we're going to look at is informed delivery. So informed delivery, we had 15,863 people were signed up for informed delivery out of the 102,638. Now, if I take that and I divide it out by the 10,277 people that opened those emails, the open rate on those emails is 64%. That is an extremely high open rate. And of that open rate, 47 people clicked through on that color ad to that donation page. Now we're going to look at social media follow-up. So social media follow-up are the people that went to the website. We were able to follow that user and their passcode. So we're not following the device that they're on, we're following that individual. So not, you know, like I said, if my boss is sitting at my desk, they're following the device. This is not following the device, this is following the user themselves, and then serving them up ads on Instagram and Facebook. This resulted in 182 additional clicks back to the site. So they were already on the site once. They got served up these additional ads, and 182 of them clicked back to the site. Now let's look at smart targeting. Smart targeting, we had almost a million people here that were able to see the smart targeting. So what is that exactly? Since we are unable to track the devices, what we're doing is we're taking the 50 keywords, and then we're also geo-targeting an area based on the zip codes. So we're putting out Google ads to anyone that's searching the keywords or that are in those zip codes. So these are really all organic. Now, of all of this, we have 11,680 leads, and those are people that we want to continue to nurture and perhaps do an additional mailing to. So the results to date, they have exceeded their goals for this campaign. Last year, they made it to 80% of their goal. I think we can say without a doubt that this certainly helped to have more impressions in front of people and to help get the results that they wanted this year. Now, the campaign is actually, while this campaign itself is finished, they'll be collecting donations through the end of December. So they will have exceeded the goals of the campaign. That's all I have to say about that.
I will say, for those of you listening who maybe are in the middle of your annual appeal right now, I know I'm working on several appeals that are kicking off at the end of December, January, and February. ARCHDIOCESE of Newark is actually one of those. What we are looking at is strategizing for how we're going to approach 2022, just based on the results of what we're seeing on the connected mail on the dashboard itself. And a note about their mailing, how they approached it differently, is when they did their kickoff mailing in January, they did not mail to their full list. They actually did not mail to any of the non-donors. They really just mailed to that set of donors that had made some sort of donation in the past. So they had some great results just in getting all those ads out in front of people, and received a lot of increase in donations and amount and the number of donors themselves. So safe to say that that helped, you know, increase their campaign overall. So the next campaign we want to look at is the Diocese of Lubbock 2021 Annual Catholic Offering. So they reached out to me late last year about working with us on their appeal. They had been sending out a pretty static kind of letter, 8.5 by 11 letter, in a number 10 envelope, no brochure, a collection envelope in the mailing, and they really wanted to change it up and add 4-color imagery. They really wanted to do something different to really draw people back into the campaign. So on any campaign, when we work with them, we really kind of figure out what sort of data points they have available. We look at the pieces that they've mailed out previously, and we look at samples of other campaigns and try to try to figure out kind of what they like about other campaigns that draws their eye in. So one of the things, kind of work our way from the outside of the mail package in. So one of the things that they did is they ended up using a 4-color envelope. These are some of the pieces that they did here. They used a 4-color envelope. Their posters that they did, English and Spanish. They also did personalized gold posters that we'll talk a little bit more about too. Their collection envelopes that they did. And then the brochures themselves and how they were personalized based on the different donor groups. So here's an example of that 4-color envelope that they did. And if you can kind of see on the top, a member of, and then some other keywords that they had inkjetted on the envelope. So if they knew what parish they belonged to, we were inkjetting that information on there. If they did not have that information available, then they were inkjetting some other information on the front of that envelope. But they decided to do a full 4-color envelope this year for their campaign instead of the standard kind of white envelope. They wanted to do 4-color. So then when we were looking at the actual appeal mailing itself and trying to figure out how we were going to approach that, one of the things we had to look at is the data that they had available to them and what they knew about their past donors and how they wanted to segment that list out. So if we take a look at kind of the brochures themselves, so what we ended up doing is we ended up creating 6 versions of the brochures. And you can kind of tell if you look at this slide, you can see that there's different images used, there's different call outs, and it's really based on what they knew about those donors, based on what level, if they were a non-donor, if they were a major donor, if they had made a donation in the past, and kind of what amount they had fallen into before. So those are ask tables that are printed within the piece. So the piece is personalized with salutation information and letter information. But we ended up printing, the tables themselves are not variable, they're static, but we created this as 6 different mail packages. And the reason that we kind of went this route is really how it was going to work with their collection envelope. A lot of appeals do the 8.5 by 3.5 pledge card, or you have the perf off, and they really did not want to have that pledge card and reply enveloped. What they were used to giving their donors, and they really did not want to change that because they felt that's what their donors were comfortable with, is a collection envelope. So in doing that, we ended up printing 6 different versions of that collection envelope. And those envelopes specifically tied in to the brochures. So you can see the ask amounts that are on each one of these envelopes. Those ask amounts are tying into the ask amount table that's printed within the brochure itself. And the other thing that we did at the bottom, Give Online, there was a different URL for each envelope as well so that they could track people coming into their website based on which URL they had on each envelope. This gave them more information to go by as far as, you know, what envelope those people were using if they were making those donations online. So when you kind of look at the pieces side by side, you can see the ask amount in the brochure and then the ask amount in the envelope. And we knew going into this when we printed these envelopes, they also printed envelopes that we shipped to their local Catholic newspaper. And we also printed another version of the envelope that went out to all the parishes for the parish material. So at the end, we ended up with 8 different versions of the collection envelopes. For our own kind of QC reasons, everything was coded with a number. The brochures had a specific code, like non-donor, major donor. We had small codes on it. It was really just to make sure when we were inserting these pieces into the mail, because, you know, they really do look very similar from looking at them. So we wanted to make sure just from an inserting standpoint for the mailing portion that we were QCing stuff properly. So everything has a certain code on it so that we made sure we were matching all these pieces up correctly, just to make sure that, you know, the tables matched up from the brochure into the envelope. So then when we look at the parish material that they sent out, this was a really nice piece that they wanted to include. Every parish received one. It was really just a very nice explanation about the material that they were receiving, how the appeal was working, what the parish goals for every parish were. So really nice description, a very simple digital 4-color piece, 17 by 11 piece that folded in half, one for every parish. And so as I had mentioned before, they wanted to make sure also that everyone received posters. So they created the English posters and Spanish posters, but they also wanted to have us print a goal poster. And because we were printing these posters at a smaller size, and I knew we were printing them on our digital press, that opened up the option for us to customize these posters for the parishes. So we had all this information available to us. We knew what the goals were of each parish, and we had that parish name. So we ended up personalizing every goal poster specifically with that parish goal and the parish name. And the way this was designed too, it's very nice, kind of that thermometer poster, if you will, with the different percentage increments that they're able to fill in. So in July, they did a follow-up mailing. So this letter that they did, they wanted to incorporate a chart into the letter so that they could really say as of July 1st where they were goal to pledge. And what you can't see, because we don't have that shown here in the slide, but on the back side of this letter, they actually listed out every single parish, and they listed out the parish goal and what their status was as of July 1st. So everybody that received this mailing, when they received it, they were actually able to see specifically where their parish was at as far as goal to actual. And so one of the other things that they did in July for their follow-up mailing is they actually had a follow-up distribution. Typically, I find that most dioceses and archdioceses do the parish material really only on that kickoff portion of it when the appeal actually kicks off. But because of the year that it's been, and they were reinstated obligation to attend Mass, they really wanted to have another parish distribution sent. They wanted to have another piece of material go out to all the parishes. So when we were thinking about and discussing kind of what we wanted to do, specifically what that piece might look like, what we did is we came up with a piece, and the size of this piece, the way it's designed, if you see at the top where it has the welcome pack, the way this is designed is that this piece will nest inside of the bulletin so that that top part actually sticks out of the bulletin itself. So these are all printed digitally again, and every piece is customized to that parish. So it has the welcome back and the parish name, and then it also has that parish goal chart. So it's showing them, like midway through the campaign, again, as a parish, where they're at goal to actual. So the next campaign we want to take a look at is the Diocese of Madison and their 2021 Annual Catholic Appeal. Here are just some of the pieces. They also did a 4-color envelope, their pledge card, prayer card, brochure, and then those are some of the follow-up mailings and advance mailings as well. So the first piece that they will send out is what they call their advance mailer. So this is something that they actually started in 2018. It's a piece that they mail out. We're actually in the process of getting ready to mail the 2021 mailing, which is really for the 2022 appeal. So it's really sending something out to a group of donors that you may want to make a donation in 2021 towards the 2022 appeal, really for tax purposes. So they're sending out something to a group of probably about 5,000 donors. This piece, I believe last year for them, they raised about $750,000 off of this piece last year. It did exceedingly well compared to the other years. And I will say one thing that we changed this year that we had not done in the years past is we actually tipped in the envelope. We had not done that in the past. We had always had a perf off pledge card, but we had not tipped in the envelope. Just kind of, it was a smaller quantity and cost, and it always did well. But this year they decided to spend the extra money to tip in that envelope, and I don't know if that was the reason why it did so much better. But if you can kind of tell there at the end, you can see the perf. It kind of is what we call a T-perf for the pledge card. So that panel, that card will perf off, and it's designed specifically to fit inside of that reply envelope that's tipped inside of the mailer. And then the letter there next to the bishop, that is all personalized as well. So this is another digital piece that's printing with personalization, and it has specific call outs within that. Last year you donate a gift of $420, which you consider a gift of $450. So this is where they're asking, again, for that bump up for people to increase their donation. So that's all done. That letter is customized to everybody based on what they've given in the past. So then when we went into the actual appeal mailing, what they also have changed up in years past, I believe this is probably the 2021 appeal, I believe, was probably the third year that they did away with that 8.5 by 11, 8.5 by 14 letter. They did away with that letter as a separate piece. That bishop letter is now incorporated right into the brochure. So it's kind of a brochure letter combo piece, if you will, that's being sent out. So what we do, because their quantity is around 75,000 pieces, what we do is we design the piece. It's 3 panels, and it's designed as a 4-color piece. And that panel that you can see there with the bishop's photo, that panel on the preprint is actually left blank. And what we do is then we print the shell, and then we'll come back and imprint it variably with all that information. And so last year, Madison really got very targeted with their messaging. You can see that they had, up in the notes on the slide, you can see they had 24 different letters that they had. That was all done in this one mail stream. And they had 92 different bump tables. And then Spanish version, 3 different letters, 20 different bump tables. So they really got a lot more targeted with their messaging and the language that they were using within that letter. And it did well for them. They've exceeded their goal this year.
One thing I want to point out here is that they use a QR code, and that has really seen a huge comeback since the pandemic. So people are very accustomed to scanning a QR code to see a menu at a restaurant now. And what this does is it allows them to go right from the direct mail piece, take their phone, and get right to the donation page. They don't have to go and find their checkbook. They don't have to bring it with them. It's just a very, very smart way to get people right on your website and have the opportunity to make a donation right now when they receive that direct mail piece.
And then this is the example. So their Spanish segment mailing, similar to the English-Spanish segment, what they do a little different here is because they need a brochure to send out to the parishes. That's a Spanish brochure. So they actually overprint the Spanish brochure for the Spanish mailing. And the Spanish version is getting a Spanish letter, and they have a Spanish pledge card. And then the Spanish brochure, which you can't really tell from the brochure there itself, is that piece actually has a perf off prayer card that's attached, that is on it. So that becomes kind of a cost-effective way for them to print the Spanish piece and the Spanish prayer card, kind of condense that into one piece. So that's their Spanish segment mailing that they did. So typically what they've done then for their follow-up mailings is they've done an 8.5 by 11 letter and a separate pledge card, and they wanted to do something different again this year for their follow-up mailing. So we looked at some different ways to do something that was cost-effective, but definitely was different and impactful. So we ended up coming up with a design of this 8.5 by 3.5 card, and this is again printing digitally. And what is happening on the goal charts, they're using these goal charts as well, depending on what parish that person belongs to that's receiving the card. It's going to show parish goal to actual. Now, if somebody was receiving this mailing, but they belong to a parish that parish actually had already reached the goal, then that chart was swapping out to the diocesan goal chart. So we wanted to make sure that, if somebody was at a parish that had met goal, that they didn't see that. You obviously want them to kind of know that as a parish you're under, but if you were over goal, then we were showing them the diocesan goal chart instead. So this was a great piece that was customized, very clean. It matches the main appeal material. And so this piece mailed out in a number 10 envelope. It went out with a number 9 envelope, the reply envelope, and then the separate pledge card as well. And then for their final follow-up mailing, and again, typically they always did an 8.5 by 11 letter, very common, the same thing. They wanted to do something, again, that was different, but also to keep costs down. This was really kind of that last ask mailing that they were doing, and they were very aware of really wanted to make sure that the costs were, in line with what they maybe would want to spend, keep it in budget. So this is piece, it's hard to tell from this, but this is really kind of an oversight. It's 11 by 6 is the size of this postcard. So it's bigger than what a normal postcard might be. But the uniqueness in this piece is that it has a perf off. So that pledge card actually perfs off of this postcard. So there's no envelope, and as Karen pointed out before, we have a QR code on the front of the card and on the back of the card. And then that pledge card perfs off with a note that they can mail it back in their own envelope. And then on this piece as well, they did not ask for it. There's no ask amounts on this piece. They really left that open. Gift amounts, they could write in whatever they wanted. So it was an inexpensive way to do a final mailing. It's branded, it's colorful, it looks better than, you know, that final ask. Maybe that's in a number 10 envelope where you're sending out yet again another letter on letterhead. This was just a different way. They wanted to try something different with that final ask mailing that was cost effective. So I just want to show a few examples of some other type of campaign materials that really aren't annual appeal specific. So these are a couple self-mailer options that we've done for Catholic schools mailing. So we have the Diocese of Trenton. This was a Giving Tuesday piece that they mailed last year. Again, that one is printed 4-color digitally. Can't see the inside of it, but it is very personalized. It has the school logos on the inside based on what school that they graduated from. And it has, if they were a past donor, it has listed in there the amount that they've given. So their quantity for the Trenton piece, that quantity was around 8,000. So that piece, because of the quantity, it made sense to print that piece just a straight 4-color digital piece. Now, the difference then when we go to the Archdiocese of Newark piece, when you look at that, that's also a Catholic school mailing for alumni, but their quantity was at 80,000. And they had a bit more content, a bit more that they wanted to show within that piece. So for that specific piece, what we did is we, again, created that 4-color preprint. So we created a shell, and then we're personalizing it in black with their class year, and then personalizing that panel as an alumni of whatever school they would have graduated from. That's in there as well. So kind of different approaches on self-mailers. And, you know, this is just one of those things when we are strategizing and trying to figure out how we want to produce these pieces. Quantity really plays a lot into what size and what path we take from a production standpoint that makes the most sense from efficiencies for production. And a couple other pieces that we did as well. This was a piece for the Diocese of Fargo that they did for an endowment mailing in 2020, and we actually just mailed their 2021 endowment mailing. And this was personalized, the parish photos on the front. There was actually 56 different parish versions, all done in one mail stream. So this piece was printed all digitally, 56 different parish versions. It had a different pastor signature on there, and this also has the perf-off pledge card. That is, you take off the pledge card and it goes into that tipped-in envelope that's on there as well. A couple more. So MADISON, when they did that follow-up mailing with the postcard that had the perf-off pledge card, they used that same format they also did for a Catholic school mailing. They also wanted to do some sort of Catholic school mailing, and they hadn't really done any specific Catholic school type of appeal mailing before, so they kind of wanted to go this route, cost effective, just to kind of test it out, see what sort of results they received. We talked about doing an envelope and a letter, but we decided, since it was the first one and not really knowing kind of what they were going to get response rate from, we decided to go with something that was a little more cost effective and go the postcard route. And then another mailing that the Diocese of Trenton did, so this was really a follow-up to that Giving Tuesday mailing. They had a secondary mailing that they did for Catholic Schools Have It All, and they used the showcase envelope. So this was a nice way they printed a card. This has a letter inside with a perf-off pledge inside of this, but it has this nice photo card on the front that has a lot of kind of older pictures of different children throughout the years on the front and on the back, which you can't see. It was left blank for people to write in, for children to write a message if they for alumni to write a message if they wanted to write a message to the school that could be sent back to the school to hang up at the school to encourage those students that are now in that school that they graduated from. So just some different ideas of some different types of mail packages that maybe are kind of different from what you're used to seeing in the normal 6x9 or follow-up mailing. So these are just some different ideas of how you can approach different appeal mailings. And that's what we have today.
Thanks, Teresa and Karen, for that presentation. We will now open it up for questions. If there's something you saw here today that you would love to see in more detail, a physical sample, Teresa would be happy to mail a piece out to you. Or if you need ideas for your next campaign, she's certainly welcome to set up a call with you and review what you've done in the past with suggestions for what you could do in the future. And let's see what we got for questions. Teresa wants to know if there's a link to rewatch this webinar so she can share it with her team. Yes, this is being recorded and you should receive a link to the recording tomorrow and the slides by email, and feel free to share it with anyone who couldn't attend today. Melissa wants to know if there's a typical response rate for mailers for DIOCESE. I don't know if we have the answers to that. It definitely varies by the mail size and if they're mailing to donors versus non-donors.
Right. I think that's information that each diocese probably has available specifically to them, not something we would track specifically, but
yeah, usually the results we see is they have their goal set and they let us know whether they've reached it or not. But
right.
The recipient by recipient response rate. But you can, with Connected Mail, you can definitely see how many engagements and clicks there are. And if you give it us a donor list, we can match it back.
And I believe there are some statistics out there too with regard to nonprofit organizations and how much donations they collect as a result of direct mail. And it's a fairly high rate. We might have to look that up.
Yeah, industry average I know is between 5 and 10% for direct mail, but I believe nonprofits are probably
way
higher.
than that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a pretty standard practice for them.
Mm-hmm.
Good questions.
All right, well, that's all the questions we have for today. Thanks everyone for attending, and watch your email inbox for a link to the recorded presentation and slides tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.